Everyone missed page 47. Here's what it actually says. The cell phone data on page 47 placed Christopher Watts at the disposal site before his own alibi was even physically possible. This is what the document shows, and what nobody properly explained. 3 facts before we open that document. Fact 1. Christopher Watts called 911 himself on August 13, 2018 to report his pregnant wife, Shanann, missing. He stood in his driveway. He spoke to cameras. He appeared cooperative. Fact 2. Shanann Watts was 15 weeks pregnant with their 3rd child. Her 2 daughters were also in that house on the night of August 12, 2018. Fact 3. Christopher Watts had been having an affair for 6 weeks before that morning. His girlfriend later told investigators he had told her he was already separated. Shanann had no idea. At 1:48 a.m. on August 13, 2018, Shanann Watts arrived home from a business trip in Arizona. She had been away for 5 days. She walked through her front door at approximately 2 a.m. According to the official affidavit filed with Weld County Court, her friend Nicole Atkinson became concerned when Shanann failed to respond to messages throughout the morning of August 13th. Shanann had a doctor's appointment that morning and never showed. At 12:10 p.m., Nicole Atkinson arrived at the Watts residence. She knocked. No answer. She called police. At 1:39 p.m., Officer Scott Coonrod arrived at the residence. Christopher Watts was home. He told Officer Coonrod that he had last seen Shanann at 5:15 a.m. when he left for work. He said they had an emotional conversation that morning about their relationship. He said she had taken the children somewhere, but he did not know where. Officer Coonrod noted in his report, and this is filed in the affidavit on page 12, that Christopher Watts appeared cooperative, but offered information without being asked. Behavioral analysts who reviewed this case noted that volunteering excessive information without prompting is a documented indicator of deceptive behavior in law enforcement training materials. The affidavit also notes that when Officer Coonrod asked Christopher Watts if he was concerned about his wife and daughters, Watts replied, and this is a direct quote from page 12, "I'm hoping they are somewhere, and Shanann just needs her time." Shanann Watts was 15 weeks pregnant, and he was hoping they were somewhere. But here is what nobody told you. While Christopher Watts was standing in that driveway speaking to cameras, investigators had already found something on his phone. Something on page 47 of the affidavit. Something that made everything he said that afternoon physically impossible. Page 47 of the affidavit contains the cell phone tower analysis conducted by investigators. According to this document, Christopher Watts' cell phone pinged a cell tower at 5:27 a.m. on August 13th. The tower was located near the Anadarko Petroleum work site in Roggen, Colorado, approximately 45 minutes from the family home. This is the same work site where investigators later located the remains of Shanann Watts and her daughters. Christopher Watts told investigators he went to this work site for work purposes that morning. He said he arrived at approximately 6 a.m. after leaving the house at 5:15 a.m. But page 47 shows his phone pinging that tower at 5:27 a.m. 12 minutes after he claimed to have left the house. The driving time from the Watts family home to the Roggen work site is documented in the affidavit as approximately 45 minutes. If Christopher Watts left at 5:15 a.m., he could not have reached that tower by 5:27 a.m. The cell phone data on page 47 placed him at or near that work site significantly earlier than his stated timeline. Investigators also recovered text messages from Christopher Watts' phone. According to the affidavit, at 4:59 a.m. on August 13th, Watts sent a text message to his girlfriend before he claimed to have even left the house. The content of that text message is not reproduced in the public version of the affidavit. It is listed as Exhibit 14. Sealed. But investigators stated in the affidavit that the text messages recovered from both phones established a pattern of communication inconsistent with Watts' stated version of events that morning. Neighbor witness statements collected within 24 hours also noted something significant. 3 neighbors stated they observed the Watts family truck leaving the property in the early morning hours earlier than 5:15 a.m. One neighbor specifically noted it was still dark outside. On August 15, 2018, 2 days after Shanann was reported missing, Christopher Watts sat in an interrogation room with investigators. He was confronted with the cell tower data from page 47. According to the interrogation transcript filed with the court when shown the cell phone analysis, Watts became silent for 11 seconds. Investigators documented this pause specifically. He then changed his story. He told investigators, and this is a direct quote from the interrogation transcript, "I don't know exactly what happened. Things went wrong that morning." 3 days later, on August 18, 2018, Christopher Watts pleaded guilty to 5 counts of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life terms with no possibility of parole. He is currently held at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. 5 life sentences, no parole, no appeal. Page 47 of that affidavit, the cell tower data that placed him at the site before his own timeline was even possible, was referenced once in pretrial proceedings, mentioned in a footnote, never properly explained to a public audience. Until now. But here is the question that page 47 raises and never answers. If his phone pinged that tower at 5:27 a.m., what exactly happened in the 28 minutes between when neighbors last saw the truck and when that tower recorded his location? That question exists in the public record. The document raises it. The document does not answer it. Vault investigators, drop your theory below. Dark Vault. We find the page number. We read what others skip. All information presented in this video comes directly from publicly available court documents and official police reports. Dark Vault is an independent documentary research channel. All names and events are presented as reported in public records. This content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice.